I ain't know. I.
ShinRobjira.
SH Monster Farts Godzilla Jix the figure. This box is awesome. I will definitely give Bandai that. I love that they leaned into the color palette from this movie. I love that the X for Godzilla Kong, the New Empire, is actually the window back there. That is really cool. It's nice and on the nose. Good stuff there, Bandai. Godzilla will be standing at slightly over 6 inches tall. Pretty nice, pretty cool. Shokugan, movie, king, rubber, special guest number 1, special guest number 2. I don't mean to do what I've been doing for quite a bit now, but articulation, we're just gonna knock that out of the way first. As we all know, tail was properly assembled this time, can get a lot more curvatures out of it, which is very nice, but for the most part, the figure remains unchanged. It's the figure we've been getting for 5 to 6 years now, something like that. Really, the only major changes have been the paint job and the friggin' head. Reading that SH MonsterArts Bandai apparently lost the files for the original 2019 KOTM head is wow. And the fact that the head we've been getting on these figures is a remold of that or something to that extent, that's bonkers. Wow. Yes, articulation, it's bountiful. There's a lot. It's cool. It's nice. It leans right into posability factorizations where you can get some dynamic poses. You can get some cool poses. I mean, it's SH MonsterArts. You knew what you were getting into if you bought this figure. The poses and the articulation, they're solid, you know, solid stars all around. Those two things right there. Gotta give credit where credit is due. Wider range of movement than that of a higher figure. Have to make it so. Gotta be fair here to both sides. And you know what? It's a baseline starter pack SH MonsterArts figure. So I cannot complain. Plus, I got it for $48 off of AmiAmi, so what is there to complain about? That's it for articulation. That's it for posability. Once again, a solid star for each. Now, let's talk about what really matters here. That being, thanking my latest $5 patron, JazzSanti. Thank you so much for becoming a patron there, my guy. We're nearing nearly $100 a month on Patreon, and if we can do $115 a month, I will get Godzilla Evolved from Sham Starts. It'll be the US release, so it's gonna be late as hell, but paint and detail wise, this is going to be an easy video. As my guy is mostly very Tony Starkly, darkly Venus Versa, which to some might be a bit on the bland side, but it does offer a bit more of shine time to the dorsal fins. Starting at the very tippity top of Goji's head, moving throughout his neck, back, and tail, these dorsal fins are nice, bright, full-on retinal fryingly awesome. I understand what they were trying to do with these white outlines on some of these dorsal fins, but I don't know. They look like runic symbols. Every time I look at them, I feel like I have to scan them to open the metal gate to get the charge beam in Metroid Prime. It's like some of them do follow the overall shape and sound of the dorsal fin that they're on, but then there are some of them that just look like they dabbed white paint on them and that's it. Hold on, let me take a closer look. Yeah, some of these are definitely following a specific shape on their specific fin, but some of them really do just look like a toaster strudel. Sexual joke here. It almost looks like they were done up with Gundam markers. Although I think Gundam markers are a hell of a lot better looking than this. I mean, Jesus. This one is just a fail streak, while the ones below it, yeah, that looks pretty good right there. But then this is just like starting off with a curve and then sneezing. See what I mean by some of these looking like runic symbols? Bro, what was you doing over there? See, this one over here don't look too bad, but this one, bro, what is you, Blair Witch? But for the most part, I do very much enjoy the overall paint job going on here. Loving the deep blues at the center and roots, loving the silver-tipped dorsal fins over here. It just really communicates that raw, unflinching power. I hate that that thing is friggin' bent. And I also really like that the fall-off of some of this blue paint going on to Goji's back almost comes off purple. Not entirely violet or anything like that, but
yeah, I kinda dig that. An unintentional happy mistake, I do say. The tail will be without most of those white runic symbols on the dorsal fins, and the details do shine something magnificent with all of that blue paint coating them all the way to the tip of the tail. Nice, nice, nice. When you move the tail down, you will see some silver under the specific parts, and while it's not a direct fall off of blue to just black, I do appreciate that it does follow some sort of a paint scheme going on there. Could this have been done a bit better? Sure, but I would prefer the silvery white over just straight fall off from blue to black. Toes will be painted, maybe looking like chocolate covered strawberries though. Surprisingly not as majorly marked up on the bottom side as I was initially thinking they'd be. And hey, look at that, Godzilla was made in Vietnam. We'll get the same kind of paint on Godzilla's claws over here, very nicely done, nothing disgustingly spotty, and it's all evenly distributed. Nice, nice. Now, I swear to God, Zilla, that Godzilla's eyes turning blue whenever he charges up his atomic heat ray and everything is the one thing that Bandai is so happy with becoming a real thing, because now when they do heat ray variants, they don't gotta worry about painting on no pupils. Bro's rocking the blue M&M eyes, and it fits him and it works. Now, this might be the most controversial take I'll have to drop in this video, but the teeth honestly aren't too bad. Granted, they definitely could have been done up a lot better, but seeing as how teeth and eyes are some of SH MonsterArts' worst Achilles heel type applications, the fact that these things don't look like bloody marshmallows being stored in Godzilla's mouth is a bit of a godsend. Now yes, from the front on shot, it does look like Godzilla doesn't have any teeth on his upper row, but he does, they're just really tiny, and the application on the opposing side might not be the best, but never forget what they gave us nearly a decade ago. This dude's dental application's got more gaps in it than a friggin' railroad track, but at the same time, yeah, I don't know, man. It's a friggin' repaint. They didn't give a shit. So in terms of paint, I'm going to give this guy a solid star. He might be very basic when it comes to the majority of his body, but for everything else, I think either Bandai did a pretty decent job or I lucked the hell out. Which, for a line that drops figures for almost $100 or over $100 after import or even before import, really shouldn't be a thing. Yeah, now in terms of detailing, I've already looked at the dorsal fins close enough, and as per usual, fantastic, amazing. Bandai always does well with detail, whether it's accurate to the movie it's from or not. To which this guy gets a solid X because this is in no way accurate to what Godzilla looks like, but we'll talk about that a little bit more later. But as always, the detail for the skin is bumpy and coarse, it looks really nice, it almost feels like a bootleg in some areas. For whatever reason, whenever MonsterVerse Godzilla is made in Vietnam, he almost feels soft. Like, I don't know, I feel like I can squeeze him and air would come out of the cracks, but it doesn't. He's just got a specific feel that's different than that of a China-made SH MonsterArts figure. Plus, I'm pretty sure this is the first time something like this has happened to me with an SH MonsterArts release. But yeah, detail is just fine. It looks nice. He's jet black and blue. Backstreet Boys, I'll give it a solid star. On top of that, we've got hands that I'll never use. Solid star. We've got the alternate jaw piece, which for the most part looks okay, until you get to the crest whitening strip lower jaw, and half a star. Looks okay, yeah. And then we've got the heat ray effect, which came warped and only features paint at the very tip. Lazy, but for somebody who only has one of these, I guess it's nice to differentiate, because hey yo, on the real, the 2014 one couldn't look any more different. It's cost effective, they redid it, although I will say, this one feels like if I were to bend it any further, it would snap. This one, yeah, it feels a bit on the cheap-ish side. You know, I'm feeling a half a star. Could have been done a bit better. Y'all already know how to put hands on a figure. Let's rip his lower jaw off and see what's going on, huh? Come here, rapscallion. Okay, now let's just get that little ball joint in there and yep. There we go. Now with his alternate jaw sitting in his mouth and slash head, we've got a little bit of that heat ray poking out, and it looks like he's like charging it up, which is cool, so I feel like you could get away with just posing this thing just like this, but when you look at it from the front, looks like he's eating a blue rigatoni noodle. So let's just put the heat ray in his mouth. Assume the position, my boy. All right, now I'm pretty sure it's this part up. So when you get it in there, boom. Why? 28 days later, I'm back. Now, looking over the footage from last time, I have a feeling it was because the neck and the back weren't straight, and that appears to be the issue. A pretty obvious one, I will admit, as I really wasn't thinking about the positioning of the back and the neck to make this guy shoot all the way up. Crisis averted. Now, can he just do... Yeah, alright, he can do, like, not straight up, but right in front of him. The only downside being the jaw just remains fully extended, and that makes me really, really worried for the socket at the back of his throat. Maybe it'll warp or stretch out or something to that extent. But for the most part, I wouldn't be displaying this guy like this. I'd be I'd be displaying him like this. And now let's do some comparisons. Now for my first comparison, this one's just for fun. The Trendmasters 10-inch supercharged Godzilla figure. They're rocking most of the same colors, except his eyes aren't red like his are, and the teeth and claws really like, you know, yellow and all this other stuff. But I do think it's kind of funny how SH MonsterArts did this unintentional rebirth of supercharged Trendmasters Godzilla. Same with the smaller gentleman too. I don't know, I just thought it was cool. This Godzilla versus pre-evolved Hayatoy's Godzilla. In terms of screen accuracy, I really don't think there's much else to say here. Haya takes the cake a millionfold. I mean, just look at their heads. My guy looks like he's got a pinky toe for a head over here. Meanwhile, he's got the fucking everlasting hamburger helper meat patty head. And as far as heat ray variants would go, I would take the heat ray translucent Haya over this pretty much any day. That begs the question, if this guy had this skin tone and paint job on his skin instead of just being jet black, would he be a better figure? Pretty much, yeah. I mean, you still have to fix his friggin' head. But yeah, for the most part, I really don't think there's much ado about screen accuracy comparisons here, because Haya wins, and as per usual, SH MonsterArts has more articulation. GXK Goji versus GVK Goji, the Colgatian god himself. And dear Lord Almighty, whether it's close up or from far away, you can definitely see that Omi's head is smaller than the GVK version is. Head size aside, let me cook here. Imagine if this figure had this base figure, not the dorsal fin, eye, or mouth paint, but had this base color with these blue dorsal fins. It would be perfect, wouldn't it? Well, not perfect. You still gotta fix his weird rigatoni suction head, but the dirtier look as compared to the cleaner, almost night glow Goji look, I think would have been a lot better. And while I am, believe it or not, kind of happy to own both of these, have two different takes on the same MonsterVerse Godzilla, I can understand why people didn't pick this up and are favoring picking this up. This feels so much more Godzillian in nature. This feels like an offshoot powered by Baja Blast. And you know, that's not a bad thing. MonsterVerse figures from Bandai have been here nor there in terms of accuracy. I just really wish Bandai would have included a heat ray accessory with this guy, but we got it this time. And that's going to be my overall stance, I guess, when it comes to comparing the two. They're both obviously different colors, and I think a lot of the vitriol surrounding this thing's existence is kind of misplaced. Just because this thing's been re-released more times than Avatar in theaters doesn't mean that everybody's happy with it. Sure, it definitely means people are buying it, but you're gonna go with this one. It's more Godzillian in nature, as I already said. It comes with hands and a heat ray piece. This one is definitely more akin to what people would want. So again, I understand why people missed this figure. They saw this and they probably thought, yep, that's more my speed. I'll just pick that up and ayo, more power to you. It's just at the end of the day, I think on Big Bad Toy Store, this thing is about $70. Meanwhile, this one is $50, despite being sold out, so I guess my argument is moot. I'm just saying, you could get this one for a lot cheaper than this one. And even though I only paid $48 at Ami, I still ended up paying about $75, maybe $80 after shipping. There's a better looking, better priced variant out there for you if this really doesn't tickle the walletry pickle. Am I upset this thing exists? No. And I know a bunch of people are probably going to end up picking this thing up versus getting the GVK version. And I know that there's probably going to be a million more people who are just going to save their money for Godzilla Evolved. At the end of the day, get what you want, skip what you want. It's not about what I think, it's not about what the fandom thinks, it's all about what you think. And I just so happen to think it ain't that bad.
ShinRobjira, you have no soul. That is why I have no fear. How is this paint scheme any more acceptable than the Godzilla Evolved Movie Monster series figure?
How fitting that my hypocrisy monster is Marmot Charlie Brown. You bring forth a pretty good-looking question, because at the end of the day, what is the difference between these two? Here it comes. My positively unbreakable and unshakable argument against this claim. Nothing but vibrant colors. Yeah, it's really just that petty for me. Evolved Godzilla just looks bland. He's gray. His pink should have been pinker, I think. Meanwhile, Sham Goji over here, he's all flashy with them blues against a jet black exterior, painted nails, toes, teeth, mouth. It really does just zero down to, I like the colors more on the Sham figure. And while the same argument could basically be said about both, I'm sorry. This might seem like a bit of a cope-like answer, and if you feel that way, by all means feel that way, but yeah, am I done now? But hey, be sure to check out all my social media, including my Patreon, $1 a month, access to everything. And when next we meet, unless the Godzilla store wakes the hell up, I'm going to be talking about the Studio Series Bumblebee movie version, Shockwave, Voyager class, and then maybe the Jacksathon finale. So yeah, see you all then. Have a lovely day, everybody. Peace.
¡Te bauticen el nombre! ¡Wow! ¡Qué bebé tan rebaloso, coño! ¡Me van a botar a bautizar papa frita en Burger King!